You wanted to be unforgettable, didn't you? Well, here you are. Every time he looks at you now, every time anyone looks at you, they'll see this. They'll see what happens to a filthy little homewrecker. The voice was cold, sharp, and utterly devoid of mercy. My body, being held down by 4 grim-faced women on the cracked asphalt of a corporate parking lot, her cheek pressed firmly against the blistering hot exhaust pipe of a motorcycle. The girl on the ground was me, Quinn, and as the world dissolved into a white-hot agony, a single, lucid thought cut through the chaos. How did I get here? How does a girl from a forgotten town in the middle of nowhere end up branded like cattle in the shadow of a city skyscraper? You want to know? Fine, I'll tell you. But don't you dare pity me. Just listen, because my story, it didn't start here, with the fire. It started with a promise I made to myself in a rundown 2-bedroom house that always smelled of rain and quiet desperation. The promise was simple. I would never, ever end up like my mother. Have you ever asked a married woman what she truly got out of it all? I mean, really got out of it? That's the question I'd throw back whenever someone cornered me with that tired old line. So, Quinn, when are you getting married? The answers I'd get were always bleak. For the kids, for security. It's just what you do. It sounded less like a partnership and more like a sentence. I'm Quinn. I turned 25 this year, or maybe I feel 25. The paperwork says I'm younger, but we'll get to that. I grew up in a place you've never heard of, a small town nestled in the mountains, a place where traditions clung to people like mud. I left when I was 15. I didn't just leave, I ran. I was escaping a tradition that was about to swallow me whole. The story's long, so I'll give you the short version. At 15, I'd just finished my freshman year of high school. All the girls my age, the ones I'd grown up with, were already disappearing. One by one, they'd show up with a cheap ring on their finger, their eyes a little duller, their dreams a little smaller. Married, but not me. I didn't want to get married. To be more precise, I was terrified of it. Why? Because I had a front row seat to the greatest cautionary tale ever told. My parents. My mother married my father when she was 14. Can you even imagine that? 14. It was part of some old, backwards tradition in our town, where a boy could essentially claim a girl. And my father, he claimed my mother. She told me they'd only spoken for 5 nights, sitting on her parents' porch swing, before the families were planning a wedding. He was 16 when they married, a child, and he acted like it. While my mother worked, he played. While she saved, he spent. He was a ghost in our house, always out with his friends, never bothering to find a job, to bring home a single dollar. We were dirt poor. When she was pregnant with me, she ate rice and beans for 9 months straight. That's it. She worked from sunup to sundown, her belly swelling, her body aching. And did my father appreciate it? Did he see her sacrifice? No. If she dared to complain, to ask for help, he'd get angry, storm out, and go back to his mother's house like a petulant child. I grew up in the shadow of my mother's silent sorrow and the sting of my father's temper. He never hit her, not really. His violence was one of neglect, of abandonment. As he got older, he didn't get better, he got worse. He discovered gambling. Poker nights turned into drained bank accounts. The little money my mother scraped together cleaning houses for the few wealthy families in the area. He'd find it. He'd steal it from her purse while she slept. Anything of value in our house. A wedding ring from her grandmother. A television someone had given us vanished. Sold for pennies. 15 years. That's how long they'd been married. And they still lived in the same drafty, dilapidated house, with nothing to their name but debt and disappointment. My mother, bless her broken heart, started pushing me. All your friends are married, Quinn. It's time. But I couldn't. I wouldn't. I was so afraid of ending up in a life like hers, marrying a man like my father. I'd rather die alone. One afternoon, I went to visit my friend, Vangi. She'd just gotten married. She was pregnant. Her husband was a year older than her, 16. They didn't work. Vangi had terrible morning sickness, so she couldn't hold a job, and her husband used it as an excuse to stay home with her. Her parents were supporting them both. They just sat around the house all day, watching TV and fighting, arguing over what to watch, who should do the dishes, who ate the last of the cereal. It was pathetic. We were sitting on her porch when her husband came home. He looked at me, a smirk on his face. "You're next, Quinn. You're gonna end up just like Vangi here." I asked him what he meant. "Billy, he's telling everyone he's gonna claim you. You better get ready." A cold dread washed over me. Billy, he was a boy from my class. Immature, always getting into trouble, thoughtless. The idea of him, of his hands on me, of being tied to him for the rest of my life. It made me sick. On my way home, I ran into another girl from school. "Maya, the whole town's talking," she said, not even trying to hide her glee. "Billy's coming for you, Quinn. He's going to make you his wife." It was real. This wasn't just a rumor. It was happening. That night, my mom sat me down at the kitchen table. "Quinn," she started, her voice gentle. Are you and Billy seeing each other?" "No," I said, maybe a little too quickly. "You don't have to hide it from me. If you like him, I'll approve. We can make it happen." My own mother, pushing me into the same cage that had trapped her. I lay in bed that night, staring at the water stains on the ceiling, my heart pounding in my chest. Was this it? Was this my destiny? To marry that boy, that child, and live my mother's life all over again? To work myself to the bone while he gambled away our future? No, I couldn't. My mother could endure a lifetime of suffering. She was built of something stronger, or maybe just something more broken than I was. I couldn't do it. And then, an idea sparked in the darkness. My Aunt Carol. She'd left for the city 2 years ago, to work in a factory. When she came back for Christmas, she was different. Her skin was clear, her clothes were new, and she smelled faintly of perfume, not bleach. She told me stories about the city, about the lights, the restaurants, the endless sea of people, a place where no one knew your name, where you could be anyone you wanted to be. The idea took root. It grew from a spark into a roaring fire in a matter of minutes. I got out of bed. I quietly packed a small bag with a few changes of clothes. Then I did something I'm not proud of. I crept into my mother's room while she slept, her face etched with worry even in her dreams. I opened her purse and took the $500 she'd been saving for months. Rent money, grocery money, my ticket out. I didn't look back. I slipped out the back door, cut through the woods behind our house, until I hit the main highway and stuck out my thumb. The headlights of an approaching truck washed over me, and my heart hammered against my ribs. A wild drumbeat of fear and exhilarating hope. I was going to the city. I was going to find my aunt, get a job, and send money back to my mom. I would save her. I would save myself. When I finally arrived in the city, the noise, the sheer scale of it all, was overwhelming. I used a payphone at a diner to call my aunt. She gave me an address and told me to take a cab. When I got to her small apartment building, she was waiting outside, arms crossed. She paid the driver and then immediately turned on me. "Are you insane? Just showing up here like this? What if you'd gotten lost? Does your mother even know where you are?" I shook my head. "No, but you have to call her. Tell her I'm safe. Please, Aunt Carol." I couldn't stay there. Her anger softened, just a little. All right. Come on, get inside. We'll figure it out. But you need to understand, life here, it's not easy. You work hard. You don't get to go home whenever you want. You understand? I nodded eagerly, my eyes wide. I remember. I'll work hard. I promise. My aunt's studio apartment was cramped. She shared it with 2 other women. They were young, beautiful, and dressed in clothes I'd only ever seen in magazines. When they saw me in my worn, traditional pattern dress, one of them turned to my aunt. "Carol, you gotta get that kid some real clothes. She can't walk around looking like that." My aunt nodded. I know. I'll take her shopping tomorrow. She needs clothes for the factory anyway." I was a fast learner. Smart. I shed my small-town skin like a snake. Within a few months, you would never have known I was the shy, awkward girl from the mountains. The city air agreed with me. My skin cleared up. I put on a little weight in all the right places, and for the first time in my life, I felt seen. The guys in our apartment building would whistle when I walked by, but with my aunt there, a formidable guardian, they never dared to get too close. Life was good, stable, and then my aunt got pregnant. She decided to move back home to be with her husband. And just like that, I was alone, left in the city, in that apartment, with her 2 roommates. Without my aunt's watchful eye, I started to change. I became more like them, Mia and Roxanne. I'd lived with them for 6 months, and I still had no idea what they actually did. They slept all day. At night, they'd spend hours on their makeup, putting on beautiful dresses and high heels, and then disappear until the early hours of the morning. They always had money. Their purses were designer, their phones were new, and they ordered expensive takeout every night. It was a world away from my life. I was working 12-hour shifts at the factory, my hands raw, my back aching, for $500 a week. After sending money home to my mom and paying my share of the rent, I was left with barely enough for groceries. One night, I was sitting on my bed, counting out my meager wages. Mia watched me from her own bed, a pitying look on her face. "How much do you make in a month, kid?" "About 2,000, I said. She scoffed. "That's it? God. Roxanne and I can make that in 2 nights, on our backs." I stared at her, my eyes wide. What do you do?" Mia didn't even blink. "We're escorts, Quinn. Sex workers. You think working in that factory is ever gonna get you anywhere?" I didn't know what to say. Roxanne sat up and put a hand on my shoulder. "Honey, this is the real world. You don't have money. You eat dirt. What we do, there's no overhead. It feels good, and you get paid. Why would you choose to slave away in a factory, getting yelled at by some asshole supervisor for pennies?" She looked me up and down, a slow, appraising gaze. "You've got a great body, an innocent face. If you decided to invest in your natural assets, you'd make a killing. You want in? We can introduce you to some clients." Mia and Roxanne, they kept at it, pushing, prodding, planting seeds of temptation. One day, Roxanne slapped my ass playfully. "A girl with a booty like that, you'd be a natural. It's a crime to let all that go to waste, sweetie." Even though I'd run away from my small town, I wasn't stupid. I knew what being an escort meant. It was prostitution. And yeah, the money was good. But the shame, the thought of what people would say. "No," I said, shaking my head. "I can't. I'll stick to my job. Honest work." "Suit yourself," Roxanne shrugged. "But think about it. I've got 30 grand saved up. 30 grand, in cash. A few more years of this. I buy a condo, open a nail salon, and settle down. Who's gonna know? Who's gonna care? The thought was seductive. That night, I couldn't sleep. I could hear them in the main room, talking on the phone with men, their voices low and flirty. They spoke about things I'd only read about, arranging dates at fancy hotels. I was scared, but I was also curious. And then, my world fell apart. The factory I worked at was struggling. They started laying people off. And because I was underage, working under the table with my aunt's old ID, I was at the top of the list. They gave me 2 weeks' notice. I wasn't even 16 yet. What was I going to do? No one would hire me legally. I was trapped. I spent my days lying in bed, paralyzed by anxiety. My last paycheck was a little over $400. That same morning, my mom called on Mia's phone. My grandmother was sick, in the hospital. She needed money for the bills. Without thinking, I went to the bank and wired her $300. I was left with $150 to my name, $150 to survive in the city until I found another job, which was impossible. Mia came home from a date and found me staring at the ceiling. "You still haven't gone to work?" she asked. "I got laid off," I mumbled. "I'm too young. No one will hire me." "Shit," she said. "Well, I guess it's time to pack your bags and go home. Marry that Billy boy." I shook my head fiercely. "No, I'm not going back. Never." Mia smiled, a slow, predatory smile. "So, you ready to try our line of work? Just give it a shot. 1 or 2 dates. If you like it, you continue. If you don't, you stop. No big deal, right?" My money was gone. My job was gone. My options were gone. I bit my lip, the taste of fear and surrender on my tongue. I took a deep breath. "Okay," I whispered. "Okay, let's try it." The moment I said, "Okay," the atmosphere in the apartment shifted. It was no longer a hypothetical conversation. It was a business plan. Roxanne and Mia exchanged a look, a flicker of something that might have been victory, or perhaps just grim satisfaction. Roxanne spoke first, her voice all business now. "Okay, look, we're not just gonna throw you to any random guy. Your first time. That's a specialty item, Quinn. There's a market for it." Mia nodded, pulling out her phone and scrolling through her contacts. "She's right. We can't just let some drunk tourist have that for a couple $100. We market this right, we can get a serious payday." She looked at me, her eyes narrowed in calculation. I think we can get $10,000 for this." $10,000? The number hung in the air, seeming to shimmer. That was more money than I had ever seen in my life. It was 5 months of back-breaking work at the factory. It was a new life. "We'll find the right client," Roxanne continued, pacing the small room. "And the deal is this: 10 grand, you get 5. We get 5 for finding him, setting it up, and making sure everything goes smoothly. Fair? $5,000. For one night." The number echoed in my head, drowning out the tiny, screaming voice of warning. What was fairness in a world that had left me with nothing? They found him in 2 days. Mia sat me down to give me the rundown. "Okay, his name is Mr. Davies. He's 45. He's in finance, some kind of investor. Apparently, his portfolio has been taking a nosedive, and he's superstitious. He has this crazy idea that sleeping with a virgin will change his luck, break the curse." She rolled her eyes. "Rich men are weird, but he's willing to pay, and he's known to be gentle enough. As long as you're cooperative. The key word, Quinn, is cooperative. You just have to be a good girl. Don't fight, don't argue, just let it happen. You got it?" I felt a knot of ice form in my stomach, but I nodded. The night it was supposed to happen, Mia handed me a dress. It was white. Of course, it was white. A cheap polyester thing meant to look like something a princess would wear. All puffy sleeves and a modest neckline. It felt like a costume for a sacrifice. Just a little light makeup, she instructed, her hands surprisingly steady as she applied a touch of mascara to my lashes. He wants the fresh from the countryside look. Pure, untouched. You look the part, Quinn. You look perfect. The compliment felt like an insult. They gave me a small pill. To relax, Roxanne said with a wink. It'll take the edge off. I felt like a lamb being led to slaughter, and my shepherds were telling me to enjoy the view. At 8 o'clock, we took a cab to a hotel downtown. It wasn't flashy, just one of those anonymous business class places where people conducted affairs they didn't want their spouses to know about. On the way, Mia drilled me again and again. Remember what I told you. Whatever he wants, you do it. Don't say no. I remember, I whispered, my voice barely audible. We went up to the 7th floor. The hallway was silent, the air still and sterile. Mia pressed the doorbell. The door swung open, and he was standing there. Mr. Davies. He wasn't a monster. He didn't have horns or claws. He was just a man. A tired-looking man in an expensive suit, with salt and pepper hair and eyes that seemed to carry the weight of the world. He looked at me and gave a small, satisfied nod. Mia draped an arm around his neck, her voice dripping with practiced sweetness. Now that you've got this fresh little thing, you're not going to forget about us, are you, darling? Never, he said, his voice a low rumble. It wasn't aggressive, but it made the hair on my arm stand up. I always remember my friends. She's new to this, so be gentle with her, okay? Roxanne added, giving my shoulder a squeeze. He smiled, a humorless twitch of his lips. Oh, I like them new. Don't you worry. You two can go. I'll make sure your little friend gets home safe later. They left. The door clicked shut behind them, and the sound echoed in the silent room, a final, definitive slam. I was locked in. He turned the deadbolt. I was trembling. The room was white, like the dress. White sheets on the king-sized bed, white walls, white towels. Beside the bed was a strange, long black leather chair, a chaise lounge that looked more like a piece of modern art than furniture. It seemed out of place, ominous. He walked over to the minibar and poured 2 glasses of amber liquid. Wine. He held one out to me. Here, have a drink. I don't drink, sir, I stammered. Drink it, he said, his voice soft but firm. It's good wine. And don't call me sir. Call me Henry. My hand was shaking so badly, I could barely hold the glass. I took a tiny sip. It burned a hot trail down my throat. He watched me, his gaze intense, like he was trying to see right through me, to the very core of my fear. So, he began, sitting on the edge of the bed. Why are you doing this? Selling something so precious? Because I need the money, I whispered, staring at the floor. I see, he said. Well, you be good to me tonight, and I'll give you a little something extra, a bonus. How does that sound? Yes. Thank you, sir. Henry. He stood up and walked towards me. He lifted me into his arms as if I weighed nothing. A scream caught in my throat. I was terrified. Instinct took over. Please, I cried, my voice cracking. I'm scared. Please, let me go. I changed my mind. I don't want to do this anymore. He just chuckled. A dry, rasping sound. He carried me to the bed. You think you can just walk in here and then change your mind. It doesn't work that way, little girl. You made your choice the moment you got in the cab, and then it began. Afterward, after it was all over, I felt like I was drowning. My body was a dead weight, limp, boneless, every muscle screaming in protest. I couldn't move. Finally, he was done. He rolled off me and went into the bathroom. I could hear the shower running. I lay there, staring at the ceiling, feeling nothing and everything all at once. The pain was everywhere. My first time. Was this what it was supposed to be like? This brutal, terrifying transaction. He came out of the bathroom, dressed in his suit again. He saw me lying there, still and silent as a corpse. "Are you tired?" he asked, his voice casual, as if he were asking about the weather. I managed to open my eyes and give the slightest nod. He smiled again, that same empty smile. He reached into his wallet and pulled out a crisp $100 bill, placing it on the nightstand. "A little bonus for you. The $10,000 has been transferred to your friend's account. They'll give you your share." He straightened his tie. "I have to go now. Can you get home by yourself?" I nodded again. "Good." He turned and walked out the door, leaving me alone in that silent, white room. I looked at the clock on the nightstand. It was 3 a.m. I was too exhausted, too broken to even think about moving. So I closed my eyes and let the darkness take me. The next morning, I woke up around 10. Every inch of my body ached. I dragged myself into the bathroom and stood under the hot shower, letting the water wash over me, but I couldn't wash away the feeling of being dirty, tainted. When I went to get dressed, I saw that the white princess dress was ripped. He'd torn it down the side last night. I had nothing else to wear. I looked around the room and saw the plush, white hotel bathrobe. I wrapped it around myself. My only option. Down at the front desk, the receptionist gave me a strange look. "Miss, where are your clothes? You can't leave wearing the hotel's property." I stained them. I lied, my cheeks burning. "How much for the robe?" I paid her the $20 from my own pocket, the last of my money, and walked out onto the street. I flagged down a taxi. The driver kept looking at me in the rearview mirror. "Going to a costume party?" he asked, a smirk in his voice. I was too tired to be polite. "It's called fashion," I snapped. "Look it up, and keep your eyes on the road before you get us killed." When I got back to the apartment, Mia rushed to the door. "Quinn, are you okay? Why are you wearing a bathrobe?" He ripped my dress. I pushed past her and walked inside. Mia handed me a small white pill. "Here, take this." "What is it?" "Morning after pill. You need to take it just in case." Her face softened slightly. "So, was it bad? Did it hurt a lot?" My face crumpled. "It was awful, Mia. I feel like I got hit by a truck." She patted my back. "The first time is always like that. You'll get used to it. After a while, you even start to like it." Roxanne came out of her room, holding a thick envelope. "Here you go. $5,000. Your capital. You see? One night of discomfort for a whole year's salary. You're a smart girl, Quinn." I walked to my corner of the apartment and lay down on the mattress, clutching the envelope to my chest. It smelled of money, of fresh ink and paper. It was the most money I had ever held in my life, and I had never felt so empty. Mia's voice drifted over from the other side of the room. "Now that you have some cash, we're taking you shopping tomorrow. A new phone, new clothes. You're in the business now, Quinn. You have to start looking the part." I closed my eyes and breathed in the scent of the money. A new life. This was the price. That one night broke something in me. I was sick for 10 days. A fever that wouldn't quit. My body racked with chills and aches. I just lay in bed, drifting in and out of a restless sleep. Mia and Roxanne thought that after that ordeal, after being so sick, I'd pack my bags and run back to the mountains, back to my mother, back to a decent life. They were wrong. On the 10th day, the fever finally broke. I sat up, my body weak and 3 kilos lighter, and made an announcement. "I've made my decision," I said, my voice hoarse but firm. "I'm going to keep doing this, like you two." Roxanne stared at me, her eyes wide with surprise. "Are you serious, Quinn? I thought for sure you'd be halfway home by now." Scared shitless, I managed a weak smile. I was going to leave, but then I thought about it. Go back home? To what? Get married, have kids, and be poor for the rest of my life? No, I'm staying here. I'm going to make money. "That's the spirit," Mia said, nodding in approval. "You're young. You shouldn't be wasting your best years. When you're feeling stronger, I'll take you down to the club, introduce you to the boss." From that day on, I began to reinvent myself. I bought a new smartphone. I went on a shopping spree, filling my closet with short skirts, low-cut tops, and high heels. I got my hair and nails done. I bought a suitcase full of makeup, and I changed my name. Quinn sounded too plain, too rural. I became Kayla. It sounded sophisticated, sexy. Nobody would ever know the girl named Quinn. She was gone. A few days later, Roxanne took me to a karaoke bar to meet the owner. His name was Henry. He was 34, well-spoken, and you could just tell he was rich. The way he carried himself, the quiet confidence, the expensive watch on his wrist. Roxanne made the introductions. "Henry, this is Kayla. She's my cousin, just moved here from out of town. I was hoping you could help her out, give her some work." Henry looked me up and down, his gaze lingering. A slow smile spread across his face. He nodded. Of course. He took my ID, since I had no other paperwork, and then all the other girls were sent out to work the rooms. He gestured for me to follow him into his private office. I thought he was going to teach me the rules of the job. I followed him inside. He closed the door, locking it behind us. He turned to me, his eyes dark. "So, Kayla," he said, his voice low, "how many men have you been with?" I answered honestly, "1. "Oh," he said, a flicker of interest in his eyes. "So you're still new to the game. Well, let me show you a few of the basics." "Okay," I said, nodding innocently. "What do I need to know?" He stepped closer and wrapped his arms around me. "Some lessons are best learned through practice, don't you think? Every new girl gets a personal training session with the boss. It's policy." And right there, on his mahogany desk, Henry became the second man I'd ever been with. Afterward, as I was getting dressed, he watched me. "How would you like to be my mistress?" I paused, my hand halfway through pulling up my dress. "What? What do you mean?" He was blunt. "I mean, if you become my girl, my exclusive girl, you won't have to work the rooms anymore. You won't have to sleep with anyone else. I'll take care of you." I was stunned. There were dozens of girls working for him, many of them far more beautiful and experienced than me. "Why me?" I asked. "Why not one of them?" "Because they're all used up," he said simply. "You're new, fresh. I appreciate that. Besides," he added with a smirk, "we're good together. In bed." He laid out the terms. "I'll get you your own place. I'll give you a $2,000 allowance every month, plus gifts. I'll treat you like a second wife. Interested?" $2,000 a month to just be with him. It seemed too good to be true. It was safe. It was clean. Sleeping with one man I was starting to find attractive was infinitely better than sleeping with strangers every night, wondering what diseases they might have. Henry was gentle, attentive. He made me feel desired. "Are there any conditions?" I asked. Of course, he said. You never come to my house. You never try to contact my wife. You don't see other men while you're with me. And you do what I say. Be a good girl, and you'll have everything you want. Understand? I understand, I said quickly. I don't care about your other life. I promise. Then we have a deal, my sweet little Kayla. I accepted his offer. Just like that, I retired from a career that had lasted less than an hour. I went from being a prostitute in training to a kept woman. I didn't have to work. I didn't have to do anything. I just had to be available for Henry. Twice a week, he would pick me up. He'd take me out to fancy dinners, buy me expensive clothes, and our nights would always end in a hotel room. The next morning, I'd take a taxi back to the apartment. Life was incredible. I had money. I was being pampered. I was happy. $20,000 a month might not seem like much to some people, but to a girl who grew up eating rice and beans, it was a fortune. I spent my days at the salon, at the gym, making myself more beautiful for him, and the more beautiful I became, the more he wanted me. He started visiting more often, buying me more expensive gifts, whispering that he was falling in love with me, and slowly, terrifyingly, I realized I was developing feelings for him too. That's when I started to think about her, his wife. In the beginning, she was just an abstract concept, a faceless obstacle. But now I started to wonder, who was this woman who had him the rest of the time? I became obsessed. I wanted to know everything about her. Was it because I was falling in love with him? Or was it because I wanted her life? I wanted to be the one he came home to every night. I wanted to be his real wife. And so I began to plot. I needed a way to get closer, to see her, to understand her. I needed to find a way into his home. Back at the apartment, Mia and Roxanne were green with envy. They saw me living like a queen, showered with gifts, while they were still out every night, dealing with difficult clients. Look at her, Mia would mutter to Roxanne. She lucked out, living the high life while we're out here working our asses off. Roxanne sighed. I know. If I'd known he'd fall for her like that, I never would have introduced them. God, she's got it made. And did you hear about my client last night? Some freak who wanted me to. I tuned them out. I was getting ready for my date with Henry. I put on a new dress he'd bought me. Mia's voice was sharp. Going out with your sugar daddy again? I just smiled, looking at my reflection in the mirror. He's meeting me downstairs. Don't wait up. I'll be home in the morning. As I left, I heard Roxanne say, beginner's luck. That's all it is. I smiled to myself. They could call it luck, but I knew better. It was skill. I was good at this. That night, in the hotel, after we'd made love, I lay beside him, tracing patterns on his chest. I decided to make my first move. You've been coming to see me so much lately, I said, my voice soft and casual. Is everything okay at home? Does your wife not take care of you? He stiffened. I immediately backtracked. I'm sorry, I said quickly. That was out of line. I'm just happy to see you. How is she? And how is little Naomi? Is that her name? Are they doing okay? He let out a long, heavy sigh. He didn't say anything. I pressed gently. You don't have to tell me if you don't want to. I won't ask again. But I want you to know I'm here for you. If you ever need to talk, I'll listen. Your happiness is all that matters to me. I had hit the right note. He softened, turning to look at me, his eyes full of a sadness I'd never seen before. My wife, he began, his voice thick with emotion. She has breast cancer, stage 3, her health. It's not good. We haven't been together in that way for a long time. Inside, a dark, triumphant part of me rejoiced. She's sick. She might die. It was a horrible thought, but I couldn't suppress it. This was my chance, my opening, but on the outside, my face was a mask of sorrow and compassion. I put my hand on his cheek. "Oh, Henry, I'm so sorry. That's awful." The poor woman, so young to be going through something so terrible. I looked him directly in the eyes. "Henry, can you make me a promise? Anything," he whispered. "Promise me you'll never leave her side. Promise me you'll love her and take care of her. She needs you now more than ever." He looked at me, his eyes filled with surprise and gratitude. I can't believe you're saying that. You're amazing, Kayla. Thank you. I'm just saying what's in my heart. I lied. I'm a good person, Henry. He pulled me close. I know you are, and I'm going to cherish you. I love you, Kayla. Just a few well-chosen words, a few fake tears, and I had him. He saw me not as a mistress, but as a kind, understanding soul. This was the first step, the first move in my campaign to take his home, his life, his name. The next morning, I went to a high-end children's boutique. I used his money, of course, to buy several beautiful, expensive outfits for his daughter, Naomi. Then I called him, my voice sweet as honey. "Henry, darling, I bought a few little things for Naomi. Could you swing by this afternoon and pick them up for her?" That afternoon, his car pulled up outside my building. I ran out, holding the brightly colored shopping bag. "Here you go," I said, handing it to him with a bright smile. "Give these to your little girl for me. I wish so much I could meet her, just give her a hug. But I know that's not possible. Drive safe, my love." He hesitated, looking from the bag to my face. "You know," he said slowly, "Naomi's been really down lately, with her mom in the hospital so much. Maybe seeing you would cheer her up. Why don't you get changed? Come home with me." My heart leaped. It was working. It was actually working, but I had to play my part. "Oh, Henry, I don't know," I said, feigning concern. "What if her mother found out? It would break her heart." "She won't find out," he said firmly. "Don't worry. Come on, it'll be okay." "Well, okay," I said, a reluctant smile playing on my lips. "Just let me grab my purse." I ran back inside, a triumphant grin spreading across my face. This was just the beginning. The real game was about to start. As I got into Henry's car, a sleek, black Mercedes that smelled of new leather and quiet money, I suggested we make one more stop. "I'd love to get a little something for Naomi myself," I said, my voice full of warmth. "A toy, maybe. Something to really make her smile." Henry glanced at me, his expression softening. "That's a great idea, Kayla." We stopped at a fancy toy store, the kind of place with life-size stuffed giraffes in the window. I picked out an elaborate Princess Castle playset, the biggest one they had. It felt good, spending his money to win over his daughter. A strategic investment. This was the first time in the 6 months we'd been together that he was taking me to his house, his home. It felt like a monumental victory, the first major battle won in a long war. As we pulled into the driveway of a beautiful suburban house, a little girl with big, brown eyes and dark curly hair ran out the front door. Naomi, she was 5. She saw me in the passenger seat and stopped, her smile faltering, her expression turning to one of wary curiosity. Henry got out and scooped her up into his arms. "Hey, pumpkin, Daddy's home." He turned to me. "Naomi, I want you to meet someone. This is Miss Kayla. She's a friend of Daddy's. I thought you might be a little lonely, so I asked her to come and play with you." He set her down. "Now, why don't you two get to know each other? Naomi was a sweet kid. She looked at me shyly and whispered, "Hello, Miss Kayla." I crouched down to her level, forcing a smile that felt brittle on my face. "Hello, Naomi. It's so nice to meet you. You are even prettier than your daddy said." I held out the giant box. "I brought you a present. Why don't we go inside and open it?" A child's loyalty can always be bought with a toy. Her eyes lit up as she tore open the wrapping paper, squealing with delight. I kept the smile plastered on my face, but inside I felt nothing. A cold, hollow emptiness. "Do you want to know a secret?" I hated her. It's a terrible thing to admit, but it's the truth. I hated this innocent little girl because every time I looked at her, I saw him. I saw the family he had, the life he had that didn't include me. She was a living, breathing symbol of the woman I was trying to replace, and for that, I could never love her. Henry had to take a work call, so he asked me to put Naomi down for her nap. "The housekeeper is busy in the kitchen," he said. "Could you handle it for me?" "Of course, darling," I cooed, all sweetness and light in front of him. I turned to the little girl. "Come on, sweetie. Auntie Kayla will sing you a lullaby, okay?" Naomi nodded, her eyes drooping with sleepiness. Henry smiled, relieved, and disappeared into his study. I tucked her into her little princess bed and started to sing. I sang one song. Her eyes were still wide open. I sang a second. She was staring at the ceiling, completely awake. I could feel a hot spike of irritation rise in my chest. "Just go to sleep, you little brat." But I forced myself to stay calm. "Why aren't you sleeping, honey?" I asked, my voice strained. She looked at me with those big, innocent eyes. "Because you don't sing very well," she said plainly. "Mommy sings much better. When Mommy sings, I fall asleep right away. But she's on a business trip." A business trip. That's what he told her. That her mother, who was probably lying in a hospital bed wasting away, was just on a business trip. The lie was both pathetic and convenient. A wave of fury washed over me. This little girl, defending her dying mother. "Your mommy is going to die," I wanted to scream. "And I'm going to be your new mommy, and you will learn to obey me." But I swallowed the rage. The long game, Kayla. The long game. I forced another smile. I started singing again. It took 5 more songs, 5 excruciatingly long lullabies, before her eyes finally fluttered shut. I covered her with a blanket and slipped out of the room. I was drawn, as if by a magnet, to their bedroom, the master bedroom. I pushed the door open and stepped inside. It was beautiful, romantic. A huge 4-poster bed, soft lighting, and on the vanity table, an arsenal of expensive perfumes and cosmetics. I sat down in her chair, in front of her mirror, and looked at my reflection. I looked good here. I looked like I belonged. I could be the lady of this house. I was lost in my fantasy when Henry walked in. "There you are," he said, startling me. I jumped up. "Oh, I'm so sorry. I was just curious to see your room. You're not mad, are you?" He walked over and wrapped his arms around me from behind. "Silly girl, why would I be mad? You've been so good to Naomi. I should be thanking you. I'm just so happy to be here, Henry," I whispered, leaning back against him. "I can't even describe the feeling. Can I? Can I come back again sometime?" "Of course," he murmured into my hair. "You can come whenever you want." I turned in his arms and pulled his face down to mine. "Thank you, my love," I purred, and then I kissed him. A deep, passionate kiss designed to make him forget everything but me. And it worked. That night, I made love to Henry in the bed he shared with his dying wife. And as I lay there, feeling his weight on top of me, I felt a surge of pure, unadulterated triumph. I wondered what she would do if she knew. If she knew that her husband had brought his mistress into her home, into her bed, the shock would probably kill her on the spot. Good. The next morning, I went downstairs to find the housekeeper, a middle-aged woman named Rosa, preparing breakfast. She looked at me with open curiosity. "Are you a friend of Mr. Henry's?" she asked, her tone polite but wary. "I don't believe we've met." I gave her a serene smile. "We've only known each other for a little while. You'll be seeing a lot more of me from now on." Rosa looked surprised, so surprised she almost dropped the spatula she was holding. "So, you and Mr. Henry, you're a couple?" I just nodded. "That's right." Her face fell. "But how can that be? The missus is still in the hospital." I cut her off, my voice turning cold and sharp. "Naomi needs a mother to love and care for her. If she can't do that, then I will. Isn't that the most logical solution? But Mr. Henry would never." I took a step closer, my smile gone, my voice dropping to a low threat. "Are you questioning his decisions, Rosa? You know, I hear it's planting season back in your hometown. Lots of work to be done on the farm. I could mention to Henry that you seem homesick. Perhaps you'd like a permanent vacation. We can find someone more discreet to take your place." Rosa's face went pale. She lowered her head and didn't say another word. I smirked. A nosy old housekeeper. She needed to learn her place. Just then, Henry came downstairs, carrying a sleepy Naomi. Something smells delicious. What are we having this morning?" My voice instantly switched back to sweet honey. "Good morning, you two. Your breakfast is almost ready." Naomi, still half asleep, looked at me and mumbled, "Morning, Mommy Kayla." I froze. She called me Mommy. Henry just laughed. "Well, Kayla," he said, beaming. "Looks like you have a daughter now. A very cute one, at that. How do you feel about that?" I had to force the emotion. I squeezed out a few tears, letting them trail down my cheeks. I looked up at him, my eyes shining with manufactured happiness. "Oh, Henry," I whispered, my voice choked with fake emotion. I'm so happy. I never thought she would call me that." He gently wiped a tear from my cheek. "Don't cry, you silly girl." Silly girl? I thought, the smile never leaving my face. "You just wait. You'll see how silly I can be." After breakfast, Henry decided to take us to an amusement park. The three of us, like a real family. I hated every second of it. The sticky cotton candy, the screaming children, the pointless rides that just made me tired and dizzy. But I played the part. I held Naomi's hand. I cheered when Henry won her a stuffed animal. I smiled for the camera when he took a picture of us on the merry-go-round. To anyone watching, we were the perfect, happy family. A beautiful young mother doting on her adorable daughter and handsome husband. No one would ever suspect the truth, that I was a fraud, that I couldn't stand the sight of his child, that I was just waiting for her real mother to die. I spent the whole day longing to go home. I sat on a bench, watching Henry and Naomi on the Ferris wheel, their laughter carrying on the wind. What a happy little scene, I thought bitterly. I wasn't happy, not at all. Finally, the day was over. I went back to my apartment, exhausted. I collapsed onto my bed, the fake smile finally melting from my face. Mia and Roxanne came home a little while later, reeking of cheap perfume and cigarettes. Roxanne looked at me lying there. "You're back early. My name is Kayla now," I said, not bothering to sit up. "Stop calling me Quinn. It sounds common." Roxanne's eyes narrowed. "Oh, excuse me, Kayla. I like Quinn. I'm going to keep calling you that. Now, are you going to get up and do your share of the housework? This place is a sty, and I'm sick of cleaning up after you. You haven't lifted a finger since you moved in. I sat up, glaring at her. I've been busy. If you don't like it, you can clean it yourself. No one's forcing you. Mia stepped in, siding with Roxanne. She's right, you know. You're lazy as hell. We thought girls from the country were supposed to be hardworking. You need to pull your weight around here. This is a shared space. I was tired. I was irritable. And I was done being talked down to. Will you two just shut up? I snapped. I'm trying to rest. Your constant nagging is giving me a headache. If you're so unhappy here, why don't you just move out? Mia's face turned red with anger. Move out? You have a lot of nerve. Do you have any idea who rented this apartment first? Your aunt. She begged us to let her stay. Then you came along. You're the one who should get the hell out, Quinn. I told you not to call me that. I screamed, losing control. Are you deaf? That's when it got ugly. Mia lunged at me. I fought back. I was younger, stronger, and fueled by a rage that had been simmering for weeks. Roxanne tried to jump in, but I was a whirlwind of fury. I kept a small utility knife by my bed. I don't even remember grabbing it, but suddenly it was in my hand. In one swift, shocking motion, I slashed it across Mia's thigh. She gasped, stumbling back, her eyes wide with disbelief and pain. She collapsed to her knees, clutching her leg as blood began to soak through her jeans. I kicked her hard in the face, sending her sprawling backward onto the floor. Then I turned to Roxanne, the bloody knife still in my hand. Do you want to end up like her? I asked, my voice dangerously calm. Roxanne stared at me, at the knife, at Mia bleeding on the floor. She was terrified. She shook her head, unable to speak. That night, they packed their bags and left. They didn't say a word. Good. Now the apartment was all mine. No one to nag me. No one to get in my way. A few days later, Henry's wife took a turn for the worse. He had to stay at the hospital with her around the clock. He couldn't come see me. I was lonely. I missed him. So, I did something bold. I went to the hospital. I sat on a bench outside and called him. He came out a few minutes later, his face etched with worry and annoyance. Kayla, what are you doing here? Are you crazy? I put on my best innocent face. I just missed you so much. I had to see you. You haven't been to see me in a week. I was worried. His expression softened. I miss you too. But my wife's condition is critical. I have to be here with her. As soon as she's stable, I'll come to you. My dark heart sang with joy. Critical. Let her die. Please, let her die tonight. But to him, I nodded with solemn understanding. You're doing the right thing, Henry. She needs you. You stay here. Love her. Take care of her. I'll be waiting for you, no matter how long it takes. He looked at me with pure adoration. Thank you for understanding. You have no idea how much that means to me. You're such a good, kind-hearted woman, Kayla. It's because I love you, I said, and I feel for her, and for Naomi. The thought of that little girl losing her mother, it breaks my heart. He nodded, his eyes misting over. You know, that reminds me, Rosa had to go home for a family emergency. I need you to go to the house. Watch Naomi for me. I'll call a cab for you. My plan was working better than I could have ever imagined. Henry put me in a cab and sent me to his house. I walked in like I owned the place. He only stayed for a few minutes before a nurse from the hospital called, and he had to rush back. Be good for Mommy, Kayla Pumpkin, he said, kissing Naomi's forehead. Daddy will be back tonight, and we'll all go out for ice cream. Okay, Daddy, she chirped. To me, he said, I'll be back as soon as I can. Take care of my girl. Don't worry about a thing, my love. We'll be fine, I assured him. The moment the door closed behind him, my sweet facade dropped. I kicked off my heels and sprawled out on the plush leather sofa, propping my feet up on the coffee table. I hope I get some good news tonight, I thought, scrolling through my phone. I hope she finally kicks the bucket. Naomi toddled into the room, her lower lip trembling. Mommy Kayla, I'm hungry. Can you get me some milk? My voice was flat, devoid of any warmth. Get it yourself. You have hands, don't you? Her face fell. She went to the refrigerator and tried to pour a glass of milk from the heavy carton. Her small hand slipped. The carton crashed to the floor, milk splashing everywhere across the pristine tiles. I shot up from the sofa, my eyes blazing. What is wrong with you? Are you that clumsy? When I was your age, I could cook a full meal. You can't even pour a glass of milk. You're useless. My harsh words made her shrink back. Her eyes filled with tears, and she started to cry. Big, gulping sobs. I grabbed a dish towel and threw it at her face. Clean it up and stop that crying. Did I say something that wasn't true? I want my mommy, she wailed. Where is my real mommy? I knelt down in front of her, a cruel smirk on my face. Your mommy, she's in the hospital, sweetheart. She's waiting to die, and soon she'll be gone forever. The little girl stared at me, her sobs catching in her throat. The raw, uncomprehending pain in her eyes should have moved me. It should have made me feel something, anything, but it didn't. It just made me feel powerful. I leaned in closer, my voice a conspiratorial whisper. Listen to me, Naomi. Your mommy is very sick. She's going away, and she's never coming back. After she's gone, I'm going to live here with you and your daddy, so you need to learn to listen to me. Do you understand? She shook her head violently, tears streaming down her cheeks. No, you're lying. Mommy's on a business trip. You're a liar. I'm telling you the truth, you little brat. I hissed, stroking her hair with a false gentleness. And if you don't listen to me, I'll have to punish you. Do you understand? No, she screamed. You're mean. You're a bad person. Bad? I repeated, my voice dangerously low. You think I'm bad? I grabbed a handful of her hair, yanking her head back. How's this for bad? She struggled, squirming in my grasp. Let me go. You're a bad person. That's when I snapped. I slapped her, hard. The sharp crack echoed in the silent kitchen. She froze, her small body rigid with shock and fear. I was about to hit her again, but I stopped myself. A bruise on her face would be too obvious. Instead, I turned her over my knee and smacked her bottom 5 times. Hard. She was so terrified she wet herself, the smell of urine sharp and acrid in the air. That only made me angrier. You're disgusting, I seethed. You're 5 years old, and you're still peeing your pants. I'm going to have to teach you how to be a big girl, aren't I? She was hysterical now, her face pale, her body trembling uncontrollably. Please, she whimpered. Please, Mommy, don't hit me anymore. I'm not your mommy, I spat, spanking her again. Your mommy is dying. Or do you want to go with her? I can arrange that. She was so overcome with terror that she just collapsed. Her eyes rolled back in her head, and she went limp. For a terrifying second, I thought I'd killed her. Hey, I shook her. Get up. Her eyelids fluttered open. Please, please let me go, she whispered. I pulled her to her feet. She was so weak she could barely stand. I sat her on a chair and poured her a glass of milk. Drink this, I commanded. She was too scared to disobey. She lifted the glass, her hands shaking so violently that I had to hold it for her. She drank it all, her eyes darting towards me, filled with a primal fear I had never seen in another human being. After she'd rested for a moment, I led her upstairs to the bathroom. I ran a warm bath and undressed her. On her small bottom, the red imprints of my 5 fingers were already turning a dark, angry purple. Shit, I thought. Henry will see this. I'm dead. I had to cover my tracks. As I washed her, my voice became syrupy sweet. Naomi, were you scared when Mommy Kayla punished you? She looked up at me, her eyes wide with terror. Yes. Very scared. I held up my hand. Do you want me to punish you again? She flinched back. No. Please, Mommy, no. I smiled. Then you have to be a good girl and listen to me. Do you want to see your real mommy? She nodded eagerly. Yes. Please, take me to see my mommy. I will, I said, my voice a soft promise. I'll take you to see her, but you must never ever tell anyone that I punished you. Not your daddy, not your grandma, not anyone. If you tell, I will hit you 100 times, and I will make sure you never see your mommy again. Do you understand me? She looked at me, her lip quivering. I want to see my mommy. Then you'll keep our little secret, won't you? She nodded. I'll be good. I'll listen to you. Just let me see my mommy. Good girl, I purred. We have a deal. After her bath, I let her sit quietly in the corner of the living room while I played on my phone. She didn't make a sound. She was completely broken. Just before Henry was due home, I called him. He said he'd be late and told me to order some food for myself and Naomi. I was busy chatting with a friend and forgot. When I finally looked at the clock, it was late. Are you hungry? I asked her. She nodded meekly. I looked in the pantry. All they had was instant ramen. I boiled some water and made her a bowl. She ate it silently, wolfing it down because she was starving. Then I sent her to bed. When Henry got home, he brought takeout, freshly steamed shrimp and calamari. I ran to the door to greet him. My love, you're home. Your daughter and I missed you so much. He smiled, tired but happy. Is she asleep? Yes, I just put her down. I'll go get her. I ran upstairs. I woke Naomi from a dead sleep and carried her downstairs, pinching her arm hard as I did. Remember what I told you? I whispered menacingly in her ear. She nodded, her eyes wide. I remember. Good, I hissed. Be a good girl, or you'll never see your mother again. At the dinner table, Henry asked her, Were you a good girl for Mommy Kayla today, Pumpkin? She glanced at me, a flicker of terror in her eyes, before turning back to her father. Yes, Daddy, I was good. That's my girl, he said, stroking her hair. Daddy's so busy right now, so you have to be good and listen to Mommy Kayla, okay? Naomi nodded, but I could feel her whole body trembling with fear. The next day, I packed my bags and moved into Henry's house. Officially, I was the new lady of the manor. With Henry at the hospital most of the time, I had free rein. And with Naomi terrified into submission, I had the perfect, obedient little doll to play with. She spent her days locked in her room, too scared to even ask for food. I would sleep late, watch movies, and order takeout for myself. One afternoon, I called her down to get the food from the delivery driver. The delivery woman, a regular, saw Naomi at the door. Hey, sweetie, where's Rosa? Why are you getting the door? This is heavy. Naomi's face was pale and drawn. Rosa went home. Oh, so who's home with you? The little girl's face went blank with fear. She couldn't even say my name. She just stood there, her small hands shaking as she tried to hold the heavy bags of food. The delivery woman knelt down. Naomi, is everything okay? You don't look so good. Naomi's eyes filled with tears. Do you know where my mommy is? The woman's face softened. Oh, honey, your mommy's on a trip. She'll be back soon. Don't you worry. At that, Naomi burst into tears. I want my mommy. Please, can you take me to my mommy? I heard the commotion from the living room. That little bitch, I thought. What is she doing? I walked to the door and saw them. Naomi, I called out, my voice falsely bright. The little girl went silent instantly, her face a mask of terror. The delivery woman looked up at me, confused. Hi, are you the babysitter? I quickly manufactured a story. Oh, the poor thing. She misses her mother so much, she gets emotional like this. It's been hard on her. Oh, I understand, the woman said, though she still looked concerned. I took the bags from Naomi. Come on, sweetie, let's go inside. Naomi followed me without a word, but as she walked, she looked back at the delivery woman, her eyes screaming for help. As soon as the door was closed, I grabbed her by the hair. She cried out in pain. What the hell were you trying to do? Were you going to tell her about me? No, I wasn't, she sobbed. I slapped her across the face. Liar, what did I tell you? Did you think you could disobey me? I was so furious. I took the box of food and threw it directly into the trash can. You want to disobey me? Fine, then you can starve. She sat on the floor, silent, not daring to make a sound. I ate my portion of the food, then went upstairs for a nap, leaving her there, her stomach rumbling with hunger. But I had made a mistake. I had underestimated the delivery woman. She saw the terror in Naomi's eyes. She knew something was wrong. She left and immediately called Rosa, the housekeeper. And that afternoon, Rosa came back from her trip a day early. Naomi was still sitting on the kitchen floor. The hunger was unbearable. Thinking I was asleep, she tiptoed over to the trash can. She reached inside and began pulling out the food I had thrown away, stuffing it into her mouth with her bare hands. She was ravenous. Rosa had a key. She let herself in quietly. She walked into the kitchen and saw a sight that broke her heart. Naomi, she cried out. My dear child, what are you doing? What are you eating? Naomi heard her voice and thought it was me. She flinched, cowering. Please, Mommy Kayla, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Rosa ran to her, wrapping her in her arms. Naomi, it's me. It's Rosa. What has happened to you? Why are you eating out of the trash? The little girl looked up, and when she saw Rosa's familiar, loving face, she burst into tears, clinging to her for dear life. Rosa, you're back. What happened, my sweet girl? Where is she? She's upstairs, Naomi whispered, sleeping. Rosa knew then that something was terribly wrong. She held the little girl close. Shh, don't say another word. I'm going to take you to your grandma's house, okay? Naomi's eyes lit up. Yes, please, let's go now, quietly, so Mommy Kayla doesn't hear us. Rosa picked her up and carried her towards the door. She had her hand on the doorknob when my voice came from behind them, cold as ice. And just where do you think you're going with her? Rosa froze, turning slowly. I was standing at the bottom of the stairs, my arms crossed, a furious expression on my face. I was just taking her to see her grandmother, Rosa stammered. Did you ask for my permission? I said, walking towards them. You just show up here unannounced, and then try to sneak my daughter out of the house without a word to anyone. Is that how this works, Rosa? Rosa was flustered. I'm sorry. I just thought. I'll be calling Henry to let him know about this, I said, my voice dripping with menace. To let him know what you tried to do. Now, take her back inside. Now. Rosa had no choice. She carried the weeping child back into the house. From that moment on, Naomi clung to Rosa like a life raft, refusing to leave her side. If Rosa cooked, Naomi stood beside her. If Rosa went into the garden, Naomi followed. She was too terrified to be alone with me for even a second. Seeing this, Rosa knew she had to do something more. She made a secret phone call. She called Henry's mother, Helen, who was overseas visiting her other daughter. Rosa told Helen everything about Naomi's terror, about finding her eating out of the trash. Helen was horrified. She booked the next flight back to the States. That night, after Rosa had cooked dinner, she set the table for me and Naomi. The little girl, feeling brave with Rosa nearby, patted the seat next to her. "Rosa, come eat with us." I shot her a look that could kill. "Naomi, you know the help doesn't eat at the table with us." The little girl's face fell, and she started to cry. "But I want to eat with Rosa." I raised my hand as if to strike her. Even with Rosa there, the gesture was enough. I lowered my voice. "I've already told you, Naomi. Are you going to disobey me again?" She froze, terrified. Rosa stepped in. "Please, miss. She's just a child. She doesn't know any better." She stroked Naomi's hair. "Be a good girl, Naomi. Eat your dinner. I'll eat later." Naomi defiantly put down her fork. "Then I'll wait and eat with you." That was the last straw. "You are a spoiled, disobedient little girl," I snarled. "Do you not remember what I told you would happen if you didn't listen to me?" The memory of my threat, that she would never see her mother again, was enough. Her little face crumpled, and she fearfully picked up her fork. "I'm listening, Mommy. I'm eating." I shot a triumphant, hateful glare at Rosa. See, all she needed was a little discipline. "Now, don't you have chores to do? Stop standing around gawking." Rosa sighed and turned away. But my reign of terror was about to come to a sudden, dramatic end, because Henry's mother was on her way home, and she was coming for me. Helen, Henry's mother, called him from the airport and told him to pick her up. She didn't waste any time. "I thought you were coming home next month," Henry said, surprised, as he loaded her suitcases into the trunk. "If I hadn't come back now, Naomi might have been scared to death," she said, her voice sharp as glass. "How can you call yourself a father and be so blind to what's happening to your own child? You're a disgrace." Henry was taken aback. "Mom, what are you talking about? What's wrong with Naomi? What's wrong is your new girlfriend," Helen snapped. "Kayla, is it? A pretty name for such a venomous snake. You brought a viper into your own home to poison your child, and you didn't even notice." Henry defended me. "Of course, he did. What are you saying? Kayla is a wonderful person. She loves Naomi. Why would Naomi be afraid of her?" Helen's voice was laced with ice. "Then explain this to me, Henry. Explain why your daughter clings to the housekeeper like she's a lifeline. Explain why she won't go near the precious Mommy Kayla. And explain to me, son, why Rosa found her digging through the trash for scraps of food, while your wonderful girlfriend was napping upstairs. Explain why Rosa found bruises on her body after bathing her. Tell me, Henry, do you think a 5-year-old child makes these things up?" The color drained from Henry's face. He was silent for a long moment. It was true. He'd been so consumed with his wife's illness, so distracted, that he'd placed all his trust in me. He hadn't wanted to see what was right in front of him. But his mother's words were like a bucket of cold water. "Mom, are you sure?" he whispered, a tremor of doubt in his voice. "I can't believe Kayla would. She's not like that." "I'm not asking you to believe me," Helen said, her voice softening slightly. "I'm asking you to open your eyes. That little tramp of yours has obviously threatened Naomi into silence. Be smart, son. For once in your life, be smart. Imagine walking in and seeing your own daughter eating garbage. How would that make you feel?" Henry gripped the steering wheel, his knuckles white. "Okay, Mom, I'll look into it. And if what you're saying is true, if she hurt my daughter, I'll kill her. When I heard the car pull up, I ran to the door, my face arranged in a perfect welcoming smile. I was shocked to see an older, elegantly dressed woman get out of the car with Henry. Helen. Oh, Mrs. Evans, you're back. What a lovely surprise, I said, my voice dripping with false sweetness. Helen gave me a look that could freeze fire. This is my house. I can come and go as I please. I don't need your permission. I forced a laugh. Of course, of course. Henry, looking tense, handed me a bag. Kayla, help me with Mom's luggage, will you? I followed him, whispering. Is she staying for a while, or? I don't know yet, he muttered. Just then, Helen called out, Naomi, Grandma's home, my love. The little girl came running down the stairs. When she saw her grandmother, her face lit up with a joy so pure it was heartbreaking. Grandma, you're back. She threw herself into Helen's arms, clinging to her neck as if she'd never let go. Oh, my sweet girl, I've missed you so much, Helen said, her voice thick with emotion, as she rained kisses on Naomi's face. I'm so sorry I was gone for so long. From now on, wherever Grandma goes, you're coming with me, I promise. With her grandmother there, Naomi was transformed. The fear and anxiety melted away, replaced by a bubbly, happy energy. She had her protector back. That night, after dinner, I went up to the bedroom to wait for Henry. I was feeling neglected. I put on my sexiest lingerie, ready to remind him who I was. But he was downstairs with his mother for a long time. I could hear their muffled voices. Your wife is on her deathbed, Henry, Helen was saying, her voice low but firm. And you're already shacked up with a new woman. Do you have no shame? No loyalty? Mom, it's not like that, Henry argued. Sarah and I, we haven't been husband and wife for 2 years, and Kayla and I aren't getting married. It's just a casual thing. Then why is she living in your house, terrorizing your daughter? I'm still looking into that. Please, don't jump to conclusions. You could be wrong. You could be ruining an innocent person's reputation. Fine, Helen sighed. Investigate. But I want your word on something. When Sarah passes, I want you to wait, mourn her properly, for 3 years. That's the last thing I will ever ask of you. Can you do that for me? When Henry finally came upstairs, he looked exhausted and troubled. I was stretched out on the bed, trying to look alluring. Not asleep yet? He asked, his tone flat. I pouted. I was waiting for you. Well, I'm tired, he said, turning his back to me as he undressed. Go to sleep. Is something wrong, baby? You seem distant. He got into bed and faced the wall. I'm just tired. We'll talk tomorrow. I tried to cuddle up to him, to wrap my arms around him, but he pushed me away. Leave me alone, Kayla. I need to sleep. I lay there in the dark, fuming. It was her, that old bitch. She'd gotten into his head. She'd turned him against me. Or maybe it was Rosa, or that little brat, Naomi. Someone had been talking. Someone was trying to ruin everything. The next day, Henry was just as cold and distant. I felt like a ghost in the house. Naomi stuck to her grandmother like glue. Rosa only spoke to Helen, and Henry left for work without even saying goodbye to me. I was completely isolated. Later that day, I got a text from him. Go back to your apartment for a few days. I'll call you when I have time. Go back. After everything I'd done to get here, he was trying to get rid of me. I wasn't going to let that happen. I refused to leave. I stayed in the bedroom, defiant. At lunchtime, when I heard Helen call Naomi to the table, I brazenly went downstairs and sat down with them, acting as if nothing was wrong. After the meal, Helen found me in the living room. She sat down opposite me, her expression grim. Why are you still here? I thought Henry told you to leave. I'm not going anywhere, Mom, I said, deliberately using the title to provoke her. Don't you dare call me that, she hissed. I have one daughter-in-law, and she's lying in a hospital. You and Henry are in love, you say? I'll never accept you. Naomi has told me everything, you little monster. I should have called the police, but I'm giving you one last chance. Get your things and get out of my son's house, and never, ever come back. Oh, please, I scoffed. You think he'll believe a 5-year-old over me? Kids make things up all the time. Get out, she said, her voice dangerously quiet. Before I do something we'll both regret. I stormed upstairs, my heart pounding with rage and frustration. I wasn't going to lose. I would not let them win. The next morning, Helen woke up early. She had a plan. She told Henry she needed him to go to the farmer's market with her. She sent Rosa on an errand across town, and then she went to Naomi's room. Sweetheart, she said, her voice gentle, Grandma and Daddy have to go out for a little while. You'll have to stay here with Mommy Kayla, okay? Naomi's face filled with terror. She shook her head frantically. No, Grandma. Please, take me with you. Don't leave me here with her. I'm sorry, Pumpkin. There's no room in the car. We'll be back before you know it. Just be a good girl. It was a trap, and like a fool, I walked right into it. As soon as they were gone, I went to Naomi's room. The little girl was huddled in a corner, trembling. Hello, Naomi, I said, my voice a parody of sweetness. She looked up at me, her eyes wide with fear. Hello, Mommy. I sat on the edge of her bed, a cold smile on my face. You must be so happy now that your grandmother is back. I bet you've forgotten all about me, haven't you? No, I haven't forgotten, she whispered. Then why did you tell her things? I hissed, my voice turning to steel. Why did you disobey me? Do you think just because she's here, I can't hurt you anymore? Tears welled in her eyes. You're a bad person, she cried out, her fear momentarily overcome by a child's righteous anger. You're mean, that was it, I snapped. I grabbed her by the hair and dragged her from the room. You ungrateful little bitch, I screamed, pulling her down the hallway. I'm going to teach you a lesson you'll never forget. I dragged her into the bathroom, slammed her against the tiled wall, and grabbed the handheld shower spray. I turned the cold water on full blast and aimed it directly at her face. She gasped and choked, the water flooding her nose and mouth. Her small body thrashed, fighting for air. She looked like a drowning animal, and the sight of her terror, her helplessness, it filled me with a dark, exhilarating pleasure. I told you to listen to me, I shrieked over her sputtering gasps. I warned you what would happen if you told on me. Now you're going to get what you deserve. I was lost in my rage, completely consumed by it, so lost that I didn't hear the front door of the house being kicked open. Suddenly, the bathroom door flew open with a tremendous crash. Henry stood there, his face a mask of pure, murderous fury. Behind him stood Helen and Rosa. It was a setup. The entire thing had been a performance to get me to reveal my true self. Henry launched himself at me, a roar of primal rage erupting from his chest. He tackled me, sending me sprawling backwards onto the wet floor. The shower head flew from my hand. I stared up at him, stunned, frozen, unable to speak. He scrambled to his daughter, scooping her limp, soaking wet body into his arms. He was sobbing, great, wrenching sobs of a father who had failed his child. Oh, baby, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. He wept, clutching her to his chest. As he carried her out of the room, Helen and Rosa descended on me like a pair of vengeful furies. They grabbed my hair, my arms, punching and kicking and scratching. You're a demon, Helen screamed. her face contorted with rage. "She's 5 years old. What did she ever do to you, you monster?" Rosa grabbed the shower head and started beating me with it, over and over again. "You animal! I raised that child from a baby, and you tortured her. You deserve to die." I was beaten until I lost consciousness. When I came to, I was lying on the living room floor. My body was a symphony of pain. Henry and Helen were sitting on the sofa, watching me, their faces cold and hard. Rosa was in the kitchen, feeding a pale but calm Naomi a bowl of soup. The moment Naomi saw my eyes open, she let out a terrified cry and hid behind Rosa. Henry stood up. He walked over and slapped me across the face, again and again, hard. "You evil, twisted bitch," he seethed. "What did my daughter ever do to you?" Helen's voice was like ice. "Call the police, Henry. I want her locked up." That's when the last, desperate piece of my plan clicked into place. My final trump card. "Go ahead," I croaked, my voice raw. "Call them. But you might want to think about who's really going to jail." I looked directly at Henry. "I'm not 17 yet." Henry and Helen froze. "You forgot, didn't you, Henry?" I said, a weak, triumphant smile spreading across my bruised lips. "When we started this, I was 16. You still have my ID. You knew. Statutory rape. That's a long, long prison sentence." Henry's face went white. He looked at his mother. "Is she telling the truth, Henry?" Helen whispered, horrified. He could only nod. I started to laugh, a broken, hysterical sound. "So go on, Henry. Make the call. Let's see who they arrest." In the end, I got away with it. They couldn't call the police. The risk to Henry was too great. Instead, they gave me $100,000 in cash to disappear and never contact them again. Hush money. I walked out of that house with a bruised body, a shattered life, but $100,000 richer. As they say, I got to have my cake, eat it too, and get a doggy bag to take home. After the scandal, Henry learned his lesson. I, on the other hand, learned a different one. I'd had a taste of the easy life, and I wasn't going to give it up. Why would I go back to working in a factory when I could make so much more using what I had? Life is short. You have to play the game. So I started posting sexy pictures of myself on social media. My inbox was flooded with messages from men. I ignored the young, broke ones. I was looking for a specific type, older, established, and most importantly, married and rich. It didn't take long to find my next target. His name was Arthur. His profile was nothing but pictures of his supercars. He was exactly what I was looking for. I crafted my opening message carefully. A simple, intriguing mistake. "Hey Mark, come on over. I'm waiting for you." An hour later, he replied, "Sorry, you have the wrong number." I texted back, "Don't play games with me, Mark. I know it's you. My name is Arthur, not Mark." "Oh really? Prove it. Video call me." I quickly pulled down the straps of my top, arranged my hair, and put on my most innocent, doe-eyed expression. When the call connected, his eyes went wide. He was handsome, in a rugged, older man kind of way. "See," he said, a charming grin on his face. "I'm Arthur." I feigned embarrassment. "Oh my God, I am so sorry. I really got the wrong person." "Well," he said, his eyes twinkling, "Mark's loss is my gain. I'm happy to be Arthur. And who might you be?" "I'm Kayla," I said, my voice a soft purr. "It's a pleasure to meet you, Arthur." He was hooked, easier than I could have ever imagined. He was 38, married, with 2 kids. I didn't care. All I cared about was his wallet. This time, I told myself, I wouldn't make the mistake of falling in love. This time, It was strictly business. My goal was simple: get as much money out of him as I could, as quickly as possible. He told me he loved me, that he would leave his wife for me. I just smiled and nodded. I'd heard that lie before. Men are all the same. Dangle a pretty toy in front of them, and they'll promise you the world. Our first official date, he gave me a Rolex watch worth $25,000 and an envelope full of cash. In return, I gave him a night in a hotel. A fair trade, but my luck as a mistress was starting to run out. It turned out to be a curse. I'd been with Arthur for just over a month when his wife started to suspect something, and it was all his fault. The idiot. He was so infatuated with me that he went home and started treating his wife like dirt. He stopped sleeping in their bed, complaining that the smell of baby powder and diapers gave him a headache. His wife, of course, knew something was up. I warned him, "You have to be more careful, Arthur. If she finds out, she'll come after me." He just laughed. "Don't worry about her. She's meek as a mouse. She wouldn't dare say a word. She knows who brings home the money. No woman is a mouse," I told him. "She's just pretending. You need to be smarter about this." But he wouldn't listen. He thought he was invincible. So I decided to speed up my plan. I started inventing stories. My mother was sick. I needed $10,000 for her medical bills. He gave it to me without a second thought. I told him I'd gone home to be with her, but instead, I checked into a cheap motel for 3 days and turned off my phone. He never knew the difference. Next, I told him I wanted to cook for him, but my little apartment kitchen was bare. He gave me $1,000 for pots and pans. Then I mentioned that the grocery store was over a mile away, and it was so hard to carry everything. The next day, he bought me a brand new Vespa scooter. Life was good. In 3 months, I had a fancy scooter, an expensive watch, and a bank account that was growing every day. I was living a life most girls my age could only dream of. Meanwhile, Arthur was destroying his own home. He started criticizing his wife constantly. "You've really let yourself go," he told her one night. "You should try to lose some weight. Get your hair done." She burst into tears. "I had your children, Arthur. That's why I look like this. It's because of you. I'm just saying, you should take more pride in your appearance," he retorted, completely missing the point. That was the night she hired a private investigator. A few weeks later, Arthur suggested a trip, a little 2-day getaway to the coast. I was thrilled. We checked into a beautiful beachfront hotel. We were in the room, clothes scattered on the floor, in the middle of undressing each other, when there was a loud, frantic banging on the door. "Who the hell is that?" Arthur grumbled, annoyed. He wrapped a towel around his waist to go answer it. A sudden, cold premonition washed over me. "Wait," I whispered, pulling him back. I crept to the door and looked through the peephole. My blood ran cold. It was his wife, and she wasn't alone. She had 4 other women with her, and they all looked furious. "Oh my God," I gasped. "It's your wife." He looked through the peephole, and his face went pale. How? How did she find us?" He started pacing, panicking, while I scrambled, my mind racing. There was no way out. If they got their hands on me, I was dead. They would film it, post it online. My life would be over. Then I saw it, the window. The hotel rooms were built with small adjoining balconies. If I could just... It was a 5-story drop. My hands were sweating, but it was my only chance. I slid the glass door open, climbed over the railing, and, clinging to the edge with my fingertips, I shimmied across the narrow ledge to the next balcony. I landed silently and slid that room's door open. Inside, a young couple was tangled up in the sheets, completely naked. They saw me and screamed. "Sorry," I said, not slowing down. "Don't mind me, just passing through." I ran through their room and out into the hallway, leaving them staring after me in stunned silence. I was in such a hurry. I hadn't even had time to grab my dress. I was wearing nothing but my underwear. I ran down the fire escape and burst out into the lobby. People stared and laughed, but I didn't care. I ran out onto the street, hailed the first taxi I saw, and screamed, "Just drive." The driver couldn't stop looking at me in the rearview mirror. "What's the story, lady? Bachelorette party go wrong?" "I'm a prostitute," I said flatly, "and I'm very expensive. So, unless you have an extra 50 grand lying around, keep your eyes on the road." That shut him up. Back in my apartment, I collapsed onto my bed, my body still shaking with adrenaline. I had escaped, but it was a close call. Too close. Arthur disappeared. For a week, I heard nothing. My calls went to his voicemail. I started to worry. Then, finally, after 2 weeks of silence, I called again, and this time, a woman answered. His wife. "Who is this?" I asked, trying to sound confident. Her voice was calm, almost cheerful. "Oh, hello. You must be looking for my husband. He's a little busy right now, changing the baby's diaper. Can I take a message?" The condescension in her voice made my blood boil. "You're a real piece of work, you know that. Living off his money and acting like you're the queen. Listen to me, you little tramp," she said, her voice losing its sweetness and turning to venom. "I'm feeling generous today, so I'm giving you a warning. Disappear. If I ever hear your voice or see your name on my husband's phone again, I will find you. And what happened at the hotel will seem like a pleasant memory compared to what I will do to you. Am I clear?" I just laughed. "You don't scare me. You have no proof of anything." And I hung up. But I was rattled and furious. He was just going to discard me like trash. After all his promises? Oh no. I wasn't done with him yet. I started a campaign of harassment. I texted him 30, 40 times a day. I showed up at his office every day at 5 p.m., waiting for him at the security gate. He was trapped. He couldn't get rid of me. He offered me another $100,000 to go away. But it wasn't about the money anymore. It was about revenge. It was about the principle of the thing. His wife had threatened me, and I was going to make them both pay. One afternoon, I was waiting at the gate as usual, scrolling on my phone. A van pulled up, and several women got out. I didn't pay them any attention. I thought they were the cleaning crew. Suddenly, a voice said, "Looking for someone." I looked up. It was Arthur's wife. My stomach dropped. I tried to run, to get to my scooter, but the other women surrounded me. They grabbed me. I struggled, but there were too many of them. His wife walked up to me, a slow, predatory smile on her face. She grabbed my hair, yanking my head back. "I warned you, didn't I?" she said. "I told you what would happen if you didn't leave him alone." They dragged me into the parking lot. They beat me. They kicked me in the stomach, in the face. I was helpless. And then, I heard his wife say the words that would change my life forever. "Hold her down. I want to ruin that pretty face of hers. Let's see how many rich men want her after this." They dragged me over to one of their motorcycles. The engine had just been turned off. They took my face and they pressed it against the scorching hot metal of the exhaust pipe. I screamed as my skin sizzled, the smell of my own burning flesh filling the air. The pain was absolute, a universe of agony. It was the last thing I knew before I blacked out. I woke up in a hospital. My mother was there. She'd been there for 2 weeks, ever since the hospital had called her. She looked 10 years older. The other patients in the ward whispered about me. "That's the girl who slept with a married man, got what she deserved." My mother heard them, and I saw the pain in her eyes, a pain deeper than any physical wound I had. I finally gathered the courage to ask for a mirror. My mother tried to refuse, but I insisted. She handed it to me. I looked, and I screamed. The person staring back at me wasn't me. It was a monster. Half of my face was a grotesque landscape of melted, scarred tissue. My nose was twisted, my cheek a mess of raw, red flesh. My beauty, the only asset I had ever truly owned, was gone. I reported it to the police, but Arthur was rich. He had connections. His wife claimed she was acting in self-defense. The other women backed up her story. With no witnesses and a high-powered lawyer, they walked away without a single charge. There was no justice for a girl like me. My mother sold the few acres of land she owned, the only thing of value our family had left, to pay for my medical bills. The money I'd earned wasn't nearly enough, and now, here I am, back in my small town, back in the house I ran away from. Every morning, I look in the mirror and I see the monster they made of me. They say if I'd known then what I know now, I would have done things differently. If I had known this would be my fate, I would have stayed home. I would have been a good girl. I would have lived a decent life. Do you want to know the truth? That's a lie we tell ourselves to make the pain bearable. The truth is, there are no if-onlys. There is only what we do and what is done to us. And this is what was done to me.